talked about at the very top of the show, we were talking about how most people don't know what's required to keep a marriage going strong.
Mhm.
So it's time to address that question directly. What would you say are the things that are required to keep a marriage going strong, both individually and together as a couple?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I think so. It's a lot of things, but I think the core things are respect, attentiveness, great conversations, being willing to change with the other person as they change. They say that people tend to change like every 7 years. Every 7 years, people tend to look at their lives and kind of like reevaluate what they're doing. And so when you're married to somebody and you get married around 7 or 8 years, that's when a lot of divorces happen, because people start feeling like, you know what, maybe I made a bad decision. Maybe I shouldn't have did this. And you got to be willing to work with the other person as they try to figure out their individuality within your togetherness. You know what I'm saying? And so, if my wife stayed at home for 7 years, maybe now she want to go back to work. Or maybe if she's been going to work, maybe now she want to start her own business. And you got to be willing to roll with whatever people want to do, you know what I'm saying? Because you love them and you don't want them to be stuck. And the same vice versa. So, you know what I'm saying? That, I think, dope sex is super important. It's like important and it's not important. It's like if you're having sex all the time, it's not a big of a deal. But if you're not having sex, it's huge. And so you want to make sure that you're respecting one another, appreciating one another, that I'm saying that you're intimate with each other sexually, physically, emotionally, conversationally, in every kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So that you kind of build up a closeness to one another that's natural. I know I'm leaving
All of
other
those are
stuff
on
out.
point.
Yeah, I know
Man,
I'm leaving stuff out.
Nah, I mean, I'm sure that it's an exhaustive list, but I
Yeah,
think all of the things that you named are on point, and we've touched on a lot of them already. So, real lovers, go back, listen to some of the things that have been shared again to really hone in on the importance of respect, the importance of attentiveness, the importance of communication. Those are things that have been shared already
yeah,
throughout our discussion that you guys can go back and just really examine those things and really digest it even more. The one thing that I would add, which is also something that you spoke of, is the importance of being a lifelong student when it comes
yeah.
to not only improving yourself, but also studying your spouse as you spoke of, and
Hmm.
then even being in a position where you're continuously learning how to improve your marriage. Like I know
Yep.
quite a few married couples who make it what is it like I wouldn't necessarily like a requirement, like I'll use that word, but
Hmm.
it's really, I guess you could say, more so of something that they do to kind of connect each year, is they go to a marriage retreat or they go to a marriage conference together, so that they're spending time together learning how to continuously evolve and enhance their marriage.
Right.
So just doing things like that where you're in the position of it is getting better. It is evolving. It's not just going to be stagnant. It's not going to be stale. So that, like you just alluded to, when you get to that 7 year mark or whatever that year mark or month
Hmm.
mark, depending on the couple,
Right.
maybe you have that ability to say, hey, we're consistently evolving together. It's not like
Exactly.
one person is on a growth and the other person, they happy just being where they are. That's one of the reasons why it's important, as we talked about earlier, to talk to that person prior to getting married. Because if you with a person that, they're content where they are, they have no desire to grow, they have no desire to accomplish anything other than what they're accomplishing at that point.
Right.
But you're the type of person that, you all about growth. Where you are now is just the beginning. You got other places to go, greater things to accomplish. Then that may not be somebody that you truly want to align yourself with going forward. So, it's one of those things where you got to be in a position to make the right choice.
Yeah, and I think too, something I kind of touched on a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of Christian men, especially, we assume that our wife is there to help us do whatever we want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you how many people I've
Speak on
heard
it.
that are either newly married, excuse me, or they're thinking about getting married and they're like, yeah, I got to find me a helpmeet, you know what I'm saying, so they can help me do all the wonderful things that God has planned for me. You know what I'm saying?
They're looking for a help me, not a help me.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, you don't think she got her own goals? You don't think she got her own ideas of what she want to do with her life? It's like you're sharing your goals and ideas. It isn't just about somebody that's going to help you. And I think a lot of women fall into that same trap. They feel like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I need to find a man that I can align with his vision and his goals. And not saying that that's not good, but it's never good for one person to put their goals, you know what I'm saying, somewhere else in a cupboard somewhere, and then you help the other person with their goals. And then you never get to yours. At some point, you're going to start to feel like, you know what? I got stuff I want to do. It's time for me to pull my stuff out the cupboard. And it's like they never really should have been in the cupboard. You know what I'm saying? Like, get that out at the very beginning. Like, yo, I want to do this. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I want to have a podcast. Maybe I want to be a huge speaker. Maybe I want to do this, all these different things. And the husband could be like, well, I want to do this thing over here. And it doesn't mean you're not compatible because you want to do two different things. It just means you need to figure out how to work it out. But I don't think any woman especially should just be like, yo, I'm just going to do whatever he want to do. And then at some point in time, we'll get to mine. Because what end up happening is the woman will start to feel used. She'll start to feel like I'm putting in a lot of work and I'm not getting what I want out of it. And it might not even be something that she even talked about. She just assumed that eventually we would get to her stuff. And it's like, I never even knew that you had goals. Or I knew you had goals, but I didn't know you had this goal to travel the world and be a huge speaker. Like, wow, this is my first time hearing this, and we've been married for 6 years. Well, you know what? I just want to help you with your vision first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that hits on what you were talking about in regards to communication.
Mm-hmm,
you know,
absolutely.
You can't be making an assumption in your mind that this person is just going to know that you got a dream and you set it aside for them. Like, you better communicate that there are some things that you want to do, and preferably the sooner the better.
Yes.
I mean, it's different if you didn't know what your purpose was or what you had a desire to do before getting married. You know, that's something completely different. But if you knew prior to getting married that you had this desire to, you know, to stick with the example that you gave, to be an international global speaker, and you just decided to put it in the cupboard and not share it until years later, like that is really not fair to the person that married you, because they had no idea. Like, who's to say that you couldn't have been doing something before now?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's important to be upfront and let a person know that what you want to do is something that you want to accomplish before you leave this earth, and preferably with their assistance.
Right. And then guess what? As a husband, if your wife tells you that, it is her fault that she didn't tell you at the beginning, but guess what? You still got to figure out how to make it happen. You can't be like, oh, you should have told me that at the beginning. That's too bad.
You don't want to do that. Don't want to do that.
That's the wrong answer, bro.
Don't want to say that. Please don't say that.
Yo, this is Prafit Josiah. Thank you for listening to episode 1 of How to Keep a Marriage Going Strong. Shout out to Jay from R.E.A.L Love Radio for interviewing me. There'll be many more episodes to come. Just want to get y'all a little taste of, you know what I'm saying, what God has in store for people that are married, people that's thinking about being married, and just giving them great advice and tips on marriage. Thanks, and stay tuned for episode 2.